Welcome to this deck dive. Today we're going to be tackling something really interesting. The intersection of Nietzsche's eternal recurrence with the dark forest theory of the universe.
Oh, wow. That's quite a combo.
Yeah, it is. We've got a really interesting set of sources to work with today. We have a philosophical paper that directly examines those two theories. We've got an academic paper arguing against sending messages to extraterrestrial intelligence because of the potential risks. And then to bring it a little closer to home, a paper on AI content farms and even a curmudgeon corner column about AI influencers and the dead internet theory.
Wow, so it seems like a strange mix at first,
Oh,
but I'm sure we'll find all those ideas connect in some really surprising ways.
I think we will. All right, well, let's dive right in. Can you give us a quick rundown of Nietzsche's idea of eternal recurrence?
Sure, so eternal recurrence is basically the idea that every moment in existence will repeat itself. Infinitely, Nietzsche explored this idea from both a physical and a metaphysical perspective.
Okay.
So on one hand, he was considering like the idea of a universe with infinite time and a finite amount of matter, which would mean that eventually every possible configuration of matter would have to repeat. But he also used it as a thought experiment. Like if you had to relive every single moment of your life over and over again, how would that change the way you live right now?
Yeah, I can see how that would lead to some serious soul searching for sure. It really makes you question whether you're truly living a life you'd want to repeat for all eternity. I know I'd be thinking about all the bad decisions I'd have to make again.
Yeah, definitely a challenging idea.
Yeah.
But Nietzsche didn't intend for it to be like a depressing concept.
Yeah.
He actually saw a kind of inherent beauty, even a divine aspect to this cyclical existence.
Interesting. Okay, so how does the dark forest theory come into play? For those who may not be familiar with it, can you explain that one as well?
Sure, the dark forest theory comes from science fiction, specifically the novel The Dark Forest by Lou Sixon. But it's really become a pretty popular framework for thinking about potential extraterrestrial life. So imagine a universe where any civilization that reveals its existence risks immediate destruction by another civilization. In this universe, silence equals survival.
Oh, wow. That really flips the script on all the stuff we hear about making contact with extraterrestrials, right?
Yeah, it certainly does. So the theory basically suggests that the universe is shaped not just by, like, the laws of physics, but also by the actions and decisions of intelligent life, creating a sort of cosmic game of strategy and survival.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bleak outlook on the universe, I've got to say, but it definitely makes you think.
It does. The vastness and the silence of space take on a whole new meaning when you view them through the lens of this dark forest theory, don't they?
They do. So we've got these two seemingly opposing ideas now. Nietzsche's vision of like a cyclical perfection,
Mhm.
and then the dark forest, this much more chaotic and competitive view of existence. Are those two ideas even compatible?
That's a great question. And it's a point of tension that the philosophical paper we have really dives into.
Yeah.
At first glance, they do seem to clash.
Right.
You've got eternal recurrence implying this universe that's endlessly repeating these patterns. And then you've got the dark forest, which really emphasizes this constant struggle for survival. But what if we try to look at them together? What if the dark forest is just another recurring cycle in Nietzsche's eternal dance?
Hmm. So even all that destruction and silence, we're talking about the dark forest now, that would just repeat endlessly. It would just become part of this, like this grand repeating cosmic tapestry.
Exactly. And that's definitely a point someone steeped in Nietzsche's philosophy might raise. But the dark forest theory has a bit of a twist, a concept that could actually disrupt this whole eternal cycle.
Okay, I am on the edge of my seat. Tell me more. What could possibly break the cycle of eternal recurrence?
It's this idea of Edens. So these are like pocket universes existing outside our normal space and time, but they're drawing matter from our universe to sustain themselves. Imagine them like bubbles that are branching off of the main reality.
Oh. So these Edens are like parasites in a way, feeding off of our universe.
Yeah, in a way. And the theory suggests something really unsettling. These Edens could eventually drain so much matter from our universe that it can no longer rebirth itself after collapsing. So instead of this grand repeating cycle, the universe just ends.
Whoa, okay. So that really throws a wrench into Nietzsche's idea, doesn't it? It's not just about a cycle repeating, it's the potential for that cycle to be broken, for everything to just stop.
Right. It really challenges how we think about existence, doesn't it? I mean, we're used to thinking in terms of beginnings and endings, but eternal recurrence throws that out the window. And then you've got the dark forest with these Edens, throws another curveball, suggests that even eternity might have an expiration date.
It's a lot to wrap your head around for sure. It really is mind-bending stuff. Makes you wonder if the universe could truly just end. Does that make all our actions here meaningless? Or does it make them even more precious? knowing that maybe we're part of this unique finite story?
That's a really profound question. And I think it really gets to the heart of why these ideas are so compelling. They
Yeah.
force us to confront these really big questions about our existence, our purpose, the nature of reality itself.
Yeah, definitely a lot to unpack there. But I do want to shift gears for a moment and talk about that paper you mentioned earlier, the one arguing against MIDI messaging to extraterrestrial intelligence. What were the main arguments against trying to contact aliens?
Right. So the paper focuses on this idea of the Hobbesian trap, named after the philosopher Thomas Hobbes.
Hmm.
He argued that in a state of nature, without rules or government, individuals would be driven by self-interest and fear, leading to this really brutal and chaotic existence.
Okay. But how does that relate to aliens? I mean, we don't exactly live in a state of nature with them. We haven't even met them.
Well, the paper argues that the situation with potential alien contact is actually similar to Hobbes's state of nature.
Yeah.
We have no way to communicate with them, no shared understanding or rules, only the awareness that another intelligent species exists out there. So it's a situation that's ripe for misunderstanding and mistrust.
I see. So the Hobbesian trap in this context would be the mutual distrust and fear that could lead both sides to choose like the safest option, attacking first to avoid being attacked later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in a scenario where you can't communicate and you can't be sure of the other party's intentions, preemptive attack becomes the most logical option, even if it's also the most destructive. It's a chilling thought, but it really highlights the potential dangers of MIDI.
It makes you wonder if it really is better to just stay silent, hidden in the metaphorical darkness of the cosmos. But then, if the universe really is this dark forest full of civilizations hiding from each other, it raises another question.
Oh, what's that?
Well, why are we still here? If the galaxy is full of all these advanced civilizations that prioritize survival above all else, shouldn't we have been wiped out by now? By some more advanced, more cautious species? Shouldn't humanity already be a casualty of the cosmic dark forest?
That is a really interesting point.
Mm.
This is what some people call the inverted Fermi paradox. So, the original Fermi paradox asks, where is everyone, given the vastness and the age of the universe? But this inverted version asks, if the galaxy is a dark forest, why are we still here? It implies that something must be preventing constant galaxy-wide annihilation, even if we don't yet understand what that might be.
A paradox within a paradox. And it makes me think that maybe we're not giving extraterrestrial civilizations enough credit, you know? Maybe the dark forest isn't as dark as we think. Perhaps there's more to the universe than just hiding and attacking.
You're definitely onto something. The idea of a purely hostile universe, where every civilization is out to destroy every other civilization, it just seems unlikely. It really raises the question, what if there's another way to exist in the dark forest? A way that allows for survival without constant fear and aggression.
That's a really intriguing possibility. And I wonder if it might connect to some of the things we're seeing happening right here on Earth in our digital world, with the rise of AI and all these discussions about the dead internet theory.
I think you're onto something there.
Yeah.
Let's explore that connection a little bit more in part 3.
Okay, so we've been talking about this possibility of like a non-hostile dark forest on this grand cosmic scale. But how does that relate to our own digital world and all this stuff about the dead internet theory? Like, what is that all about?
So the dead internet theory basically proposes that a lot of what we see online isn't really driven by genuine human interaction anymore. It's more like it's dominated by bots and algorithms that are designed to mimic human behavior. They generate content to get engagement, not necessarily to have like a real connection.
Yeah, I've definitely heard about this, like the whole shrimp Jesus thing.
Yeah.
And all those weird product ideas that go viral. It's so hard to tell what's real and what's just like generated to keep us scrolling and clicking.
Exactly. And the paper we have for this deep dive actually talks about these AI influencers. They're basically bots that are designed to get followers and engagement, often by posting content that seems human, but it's actually generated by algorithms. They're optimizing for metrics, not meaning.
So it's like, even if it's not intentionally malicious, are we kind of seeing this digital arms race playing out? Like instead of civilizations battling for resources, it's these AI bots that are competing for our attention.
That's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
Just like in the dark forest where civilizations might prioritize survival above all else. These bots are programmed to maximize engagement, even if the content they're generating is meaningless. repetitive, or even potentially harmful.
And it's getting harder and harder to tell the difference, right? That
Yeah.
line between human and bot is blurring, which makes it even more difficult to know who or what to trust online. It's like we're losing that shared sense of reality, that sense of knowing what's genuine and what's not.
Yeah, that's a really crucial point. This erosion of trust and shared reality could be one of the biggest unintended consequences of this digital arms race.
Hmm.
You know, it's not necessarily about malicious intent. It's more about the unintended consequences of systems that are designed for engagement above all else.
It definitely makes you think twice about everything you see online. It's so easy to get caught up in that endless scroll. But maybe we need to be more discerning about what we consume and who we trust in this digital landscape.
Absolutely. I think developing that critical eye,
Hmm.
that healthy skepticism, is really essential for navigating this increasingly complex digital world. You
Mm.
know, it's about recognizing the potential pitfalls while also appreciating all those incredible opportunities for connection and information sharing that the internet offers.
Okay, so if we connect this back to the concept of the non-hostile dark forest, could there be a similar possibility in our digital realm? Like, is there a way to foster this more cooperative, trustworthy online environment, even with all these AI bots that are out there vying for our attention?
It's a challenging question, but I do think the answer is yes. One of the key takeaways from all this material on non-hostile dark forest scenarios is that cooperation and mutual understanding, even without direct communication, can lead to more favorable outcomes. So maybe there are ways to design our digital spaces that encourage genuine interaction, critical thinking, and that shared sense of purpose.
That sounds really hopeful. So instead of just letting the algorithms run wild, we could actually be more intentional about how we build and how we interact in these digital spaces.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we actually have agency in shaping this digital world. Just like the actions of those civilizations can shape the dark forest of the cosmos, our choices and our actions online can really influence the digital landscape.
Wow, this has been a mind-blowing deep dive. We've covered so much ground. We started with Nietzsche's eternal recurrence and the possibility that the universe could just end. Then we went to the chilling logic of the dark forest and explored this potential for a non-hostile existence on both a cosmic level and even right here in our digital world.
It has been a fascinating journey, and I think it really highlights just how interconnected these seemingly disparate ideas really are.
Hmm.
We can draw insights from philosophy, science fiction, and even our own digital experiences to help us better understand the complexities of the universe and our place within it.
And it all leads back to some really big questions. Like, if there's a way to cultivate this non-hostile dark forest in our digital world, what would that look like? How can we foster a more cooperative, trustworthy, meaningful online experience, even as AI becomes more sophisticated and more integrated into our lives?
Those are all great questions. Questions worth pondering. I hope this deep dive has given you some new perspectives and maybe some tools to continue exploring those questions on your own.
Keep those minds curious and keep diving deep.